Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers, and we are live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. But we have a special show today. This is going to be a really exciting show and with a lot of information. So you might want to get your pencil and paper out because you might want to take down some information. But we have with us Sheila Sterling. And Sheila, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I live here in Las Vegas. I have for quite a while. I have a long history of wanting to help raise the consciousness of humanity in any way I can. I am a health and wellness, I guess you'd say, professional. What I do is kind of different. I am a nature lover. I'm a river junkie. Have to get into those rivers. So anything you want to know about me, just ask, because I'm kind of an open book.
So you're like a tree hugger.
I am definitely a tree hugger.
As a matter of fact, you have a new book out, this one right here. Tell us about it. I see some trees in there.
Yes, this book is, it's actually on PDF right now, but this is 82 pages of full color photos that I've taken over the last 25, 30 years. Every year I go into Yosemite and camp for, like 10, 12 days at a time. I spend a lot of time in the mountains, swimming in the rivers, and this is my poetry. I have a very deep connection with nature and all of the elementals. Kind of follow the wheel of the yearly clock. And yeah, this is, and if you look, you see this picture here? Okay, so if you look really closely, see these little teeny dots? Those are actually people. So you kind of get an idea of the grandeur of some of it. It's just an amazing place.
And you took all of these photos yourself?
Yes, all but 2 of them.
Now this one has a bear that's really close.
Yes, he came to visit. I certainly did. He just wandered into my camp, and as it says, are you here to visit or are you coming for lunch? So that happens quite often.
Oh, you obviously had already eaten, right?
Yes, I think he had. I was all right.
Oh, very good. Well, let's put that one back over there, and let's see what else we have here. How about this one now?
Balanced.
This is the Anatomy of Healing and Wellness.
Yes, and this book, you would have to actually get about 6 or 7 books to cover what's in here. I myself am using it as a reference myself, and I'm like, who wrote this? It's really good. It covers the 4 pillars of health, the physical form of wellness. Of course, I go through every organ, the heart and the lungs and the pancreas, everything, what you need to keep it healthy, different foods that are good, all holistic, of course, all natural. And then the second section is the science, the quantum physics of the body, how it works, why it works. And then the third is the part that a lot of people like to brush over, but in my personal opinion, going from healing to wellness, it is key, and it's synchronizing the conscious and the subconscious mind. In other words, well, synchronizing a conscious and a subconscious mind. So it has to do with emotional health and, you know, how your past affects your future and things like that. And then the whole back of the book is using food as medicine. And of course, not only foods, but it has what teas you really need in your cupboard, what herbs are good, how to use them, when to use them. So it's quite a comprehensive book.
It looks like it, and it's pretty thick, so lots of information in there. And how about this?
268 pages.
So this is a companion, it looks like, to this is a cookbook.
Yes.
How to eat, eat the right way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'll tell you how this came to be, because I have protocols that, you know, people follow if they're trying to change their blood in like 120 days or so. They're trying to either just get healthy, or maybe they've been diagnosed with something and they're in trouble and they want to go an alternative route. They want to, you know, try and do something naturally before they dive in to something else. And people are always showing up at my place, you know, saying, will you cook for me and will you do this? I've had cooking classes at my home, things like that. And so a lot of these recipes are actually from my different protocols. And so I finally went, I'm putting a cookbook together because everybody wants to know. Yeah. So why not? And there's even sweets, and there's a whole section on desserts. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Absolutely. Well, let's see what we have back here. This is a CD, and so tell us about this.
This CD, I've had a few experiences where they say sort of been taken off the planet a couple of times, and in 1999 I had one of those experiences. It took me about 6 years to get back into my body, and I used to say I had a long recovery. I had head trauma injuries, and I don't know, for you out there in listener land and TV land, if you've ever had the experience of a professional that you respect tell you that there's no possibility of you recovering from something, you know it can affect you. But we also know that our human spirit, we can just say, hey, you don't know who you're talking to or about, because our bodies are so resilient. We can recover from everything. And this was actually an angelic channel. I became a conscious channel. I have been for most of my life, but it's sounds and tones and my voice. And I'm fortunate enough to have been able to download it. It's helped people all over the world with all kinds of things. The tones and the sounds are very healing and very soothing. So that's about that CD.
Very interesting. And I see you have a cruise coming up. Tell us about the cruise.
Oh yes, this is our second annual anti-aging getaway cruise. Now, some people say, well, don't call it anti, so we'll call it a transformational to longevity cruise, but it's very wonderful. We leave February 26th from Los Angeles. We are going on a 5-day cruise on the premier ship called the Ruby, the Princess Ruby, and it's actually an educational cruise, so there'll be 6 classes, all different things: how sound affects the cells in a healing way, how to stay 30 to your 90, what foods. There's a lot of secrets of longevity, and fun classes as well. Last year we have a belly dancing class that is just hysterical.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, the males that came with us last year, I think they had more fun in that belly dancing class than the girls did with the veils. I mean, you really get to cut loose. So we have a lot of educational classes, and we're going to Cabo San Lucas, and we actually get to stay overnight, 24 hours. So if you haven't been to Cabo, come with us on this cruise, because talk about the Sea of Cortez and white sands and beautiful turquoise water. This is the place. So
Now, assuming on the cruise you'll be doing classes and trainings.
yes, there'll be 6 classes, which is, well, there'll be 6 classes and a meet and greet. So it's actually over 7 hours of classes and educational. Plus, if you've been on a cruise, there's lots of entertainment. Heck, you can party the night away and dance the night away. And Cabo San Lucas is just, it's wonderful. I haven't been there in so long, but I used to love it. Way back when they used to smuggle log cabin syrup in before the streets were paved. I'm dating myself, but it's true.
Wow.
So yeah.
So Sheila, the information on the cruise is on your website?
Actually, this is it's called antiaginggetawaycruise.com. It's a separate website, but if you go to truelife-solutions.com, there will be a link on there. You'll see a little ship, and when you click on that, it takes you to the other website that tells all about the cruise.
So I'm assuming that on truelifesolutions.com you'll be able to find information about the books.
Yes, and
the
it's
CD.
truelife-solutions.com.
With a dash, okay.
There's a dash in there.
So
truelife-solutions, plural.com. Yes, and you'll see a little book there, and actually there's some video, there's cooking videos, there's a lot of information on there. You're gonna have fun just going through there.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So it's great.
So how did you get involved in the health and wellness industry?
Well, the long version, I've always been a seer. My first near-death experience came when I actually did drown when I was 5. And that really opened me up. I was kind of strange ever since then. But I could see things before they were happening. I could feel them. I would get physical sensations. If we have time, I'll tell a story. I think I was like 7, and I felt scratches, and I could hardly breathe. Like, when you stand and there's a dust storm and you can't breathe. And I just knew there was like this cat with kittens in trouble. And I could hear this barking dog, and I just ran out of the house, ran down the street, over one street, down another street. I can just see it. And in the corner of this big empty lot was this giant bush, and this huge dog was barking, and there was a cat in there with kittens that were on the verge of some real trouble. And I just picked up a stick and crazy as I was, I just, scared the dog away. And I'll never forget, I had a plaid skirt on. I think my mom actually made it for me. And I picked them up and carried them home and nursed them until they were better. And then, I think we found homes for the kittens and stuff, but I was always doing that. So it's been a very long time. My family, and probably a lot of people experience, my whole family was diabetic. I never met my grandparents because they both had died from diabetes at a relatively young age. And so I was always very interested in diabetes, heart conditions, things that were affecting my family. I didn't, it was like my dad had a heart condition, so it was always like, let's not upset your dad, or let's be careful. And we had actually where I drowned up in Lake Arrowhead, we had a cabin up there. And my father had his first heart attack when he was like young, like 55. So I learned at a very young age that I just thought there had to be a better way. There has to be. I saw what my parents went through. My mother was diabetic, went through with the doctors. My father later on got leukemia. And after so many people have experienced this, once you go through that with a family member, you just walk out going, there just has to be something else out there. This just can't be. So I've always been interested in it, and of course with my own injuries, and I'm a little bit like Humpty Dumpty. I've been pretty crazy most of my life. I had to learn how to heal myself, and that's probably where a lot of people start off in this field. You want to get educated, and you're like a sponge, because you want to know how to get yourself back, or members of your family, and it just took off from there. So I always wanted to help people like that.
Yeah. What would be an example of some of your biggest success stories?
Well, there's a lot of them. I actually could tell a story I've never really told to the public before about that CD, if we have time.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, okay, so recovering from my head trauma injuries, this is in the early 2000s, I learned how to string jewelry, a little bit like basket weaving, but seriously, it was a long way back. And I still to this day enjoy making some healing stone jewelry, but I would make some beautiful jewelry. And my parents actually owned a jewelry store, so I kind of had a aptitude for that. But I was at Cashman Center here in Las Vegas, and I had signed up to have a booth, first time ever. And I was coming out, and I had all these pieces. And a few days before, of course, having head trauma injuries, and I just forgot what booth. I couldn't find my papers. That was kind of a mess. And I called up the office, and I said, could you please tell me what booth I'm in, because I lost all my paperwork. And the woman told me, and I could hear in her voice that something was really wrong. And I said, I know you don't know me, and I don't know you, but what's wrong? Something's happened. And she started crying. She goes, I was in this terrible car accident, and the airbag went off and exploded, and I was knocked out, and my hand, I guess it's gunpowder in them, and my hand got severely burned. And nobody believes me. Well, I mean, she was all wrapped up. They said they couldn't do surgery until the infection was gone, and she had this big bandage, and I could just hear it in her voice, and I kind of see it. And I said, I know you don't know me, but would you come over to my house? I won't charge you anything, just come over. And she said, okay. So she showed up, and it was right after that we had been able to download this CD. And she came over, and I had a massage table I used as a healing table. And I said, don't take off your clothes, you can keep your coat on, everything. I said, I know you don't know me, but would you just lay on this table for 27 minutes? Because that's how long one of the pieces is on there. And I said, it takes 27 minutes, and I have no idea. Just lay down. And so she did. And I studied so many different modalities. I have my own modality as well. I'm a pretty good hands-on healer. And I just started to feel, I could feel where the pain was as I just walked on her body. I barely even touched her. I think the bottom of her feet, I could feel things pulling out. And I could see as I walked around her body that she started to have tears rolling down her face. And I'm like, uh-oh. So anyway, after the 27 minutes, I helped her sit up, and she was just sobbing. And I said, are you all right? I said, let's have some tea. And I made her some tea. And she said, I can't explain it. She said, but God was holding me, and I never felt that way before. And I said, well, it's pretty powerful music. I said, let's just see what happens. And the show was like the day after, was 2 days after. And so I didn't hear from her. I sent her off after she was all calmed down. And I knew I would see her because she was going to show me where my booth was. And I walked in to the big hall, and she runs up to me, and she's like, she starts kissing my hands. And I'm like, no, please stop, And she goes, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. And I kind of looked at her, and she still had this bandage on, right? And it was smaller though. And she says, you don't get it. And she took this and she peeled it back. And her hand was completely healed, excepting for about the size of my fingernail. There was a red spot right about there. I'll never forget it. And I didn't see what it was before, right? But she had gone to the doctor. And he just said, we're sorry, that's impossible. I mean, to me, it was a miracle. And she felt it was a miracle as well. And she was going to make a video of it, and her husband said, no, it's blasphemy. They were afraid. And but that probably is one of the more profound things that happened, because here, obviously she said her hand was worse than hamburger, and they couldn't even do the surgery because of the infection that they were waiting to set in. And here, 48 hours later, it was completely gone. So you have to become a believer in everything, and anything is possible when something that profound happens in your life. So that's just one of them.
It sounds like there's a spiritual part to your healing work, and obviously there's probably some things that are controversial with the spiritual community at large, let's say. Talk about that if you would.
Sure, absolutely. There are people that come to me and say, listen, I want to go on your protocol, but I don't want to talk about anything. I don't want to do anything spiritual. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's deal with this. However, we are not separate. That's like kind of saying, oh, I think I'm just going to walk away from my shadow. It's not going to happen. We are really spiritual beings. Whether you like it, you don't have to like it, you don't even have to accept it. You can do whatever you want with it, but the fact is that we carry 100 trillion cells in our body, and inside and in the nucleus of every single cell is this little bit of goo that no one's been able to sort of figure out. And I sort of believe it's our connection to spirit, to source, whatever you want to call it. We are inherently connected, and we're all connected actually, and we are made of the elements. So to me, it's all sort of the same. It's all one. So like that.
Now, and just so I get a little better picture of all this, because I guess the overall philosophy is part of what they call New Age, right? Have you heard that term?
Oh yeah, I've heard that term, New Age.
Yeah.
And
what are your thoughts about that?
Well, New Age was great when it was New Age, which was probably a couple decades ago, but it was a way, let's face it, the awakening really happened in the 60s, and I was part of that. And it's like everybody went back to sleep for about...
I was too, but don't tell
Okay, I won't. It's like everybody went to sleep for about 20 years and then started to come around again. And what I do is actually very scientifically based as well. So I don't know if I'd call it New Agey. Anyone can call it whatever they want, whatever they're comfortable with. But it's what I do. I believe in ancient ways. I do ancient ways ceremonies sometimes. I do a lot of different things. So I guess some people could qualify me or put me in that bracket of New Agey. But when you read some of my stuff, this is a book based in science, okay? And there's been, if you look at what was discovered and what we thought 30 years ago, I mean, some of the things that are happening today, you know, with stem cells and all these other things, you would have said 30 years ago, it's just not possible. So is it New Age, or is it just an open thought of, you know, embracing anything, or not anything, but everything that can help people? So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it. You know, I think it sort of does. You know, what would you say to people that maybe are more conservative in their religious thought? Because some of these things, you know, sound a little bit far out there,
Far-fetched,
right?
yeah.
Far-fetched, a little bit out there. Yeah.
You know, I have a funny story, because I do ceremonies sometime. I believe in honoring the earth and the elements and different things. And I was at a function a number of years ago, and it was my function, and a Catholic priest, you know, came dressed. And a lot of people were saying, why are you here? And he said, I'm here to get inspiration to take back to my order. So I think inspiration is where you find it. I have nothing against what they call organized religion. If somebody it doesn't matter what religion, I respect and honor everybody's and anybody's belief system. And most people are raised in a certain belief system, but something happens sometimes to some people where they get to a point where they've experienced something that is inexplainable, or they've had this feeling, or they feel like they're close to grace, and it tends to take away the boundary. It tends to take away the boundary of everything I need to know about religion is in this book. Because, well, I should probably leave it there, but I respect all religions. I was raised in a Judaic Christian household, and my parents thought I was kind of crazy, but I was also a part of a 60s group, so we all were. And I think for a lot of people, spirituality has grown to be more boundaryless, to maybe encompass different belief systems. And just because you believe one thing and I don't, doesn't mean that you're wrong or I'm wrong or you're right or anything. It's all spirituality, and whatever anybody believes, that's what they should follow, because it's in their heart, and it's, you know.
So you think there's many ways to God, not just one way?
Absolutely, I do. And a lot of people would really disagree with that, and I understand that. I have many friends who are devout Christians, and we have some talk about it and some debate, but still, they still show up to my ceremonies where I'm honoring the earth and the elements. It's not that I'm worshiping. They're like, well, you're not worshiping the earth. I'm like, well, no, not really. Is it worshiping source, or, you know, it's just taking the labels off it and just being grateful for everything. So it's just a different way of looking at it, and I think that there are many ways to look at it. And if you believe in your heart and you feel in your heart that feeling of grace and good, you don't have to have a label. Just as far as that's my personal opinion. So, and I know some people would probably disagree with that.
Sure, many people would. You know, I think there's certainly, though, is nothing wrong with understanding how everybody, you know, what their thoughts are, and
Right.
and it's important because, you know, this is a big industry. You know, this healing / New Age, or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's a big industry, and there's many shows and places that you can go, and booths are just filled with various different things, all the way from specialized massages to specialized foods and nutrition things. So it's a whole big industry, and understanding it, I think, is really a good thing.
Yeah, it is, and I've noticed. I mean, so many people, they'll, you know, you ask them what supplements they're taking, and they come out with a bag that's like got 50 supplements, and they're like, well, what are you taking this for? Well, I don't know. I just take them. And something I would like to convey, it's like throwing pasta on a wall, and because herbs are like medicine, that most of all of our pharmaceuticals are made from herbs. They
They're the
use
real medicine.
isolates.
The real medicine.
Yeah, real medicine. They're used. They use isolates so that they can patent it. But that doesn't. The herbs are very powerful, and you really have to do some research for yourself on what you personally need, what's good for you, what's not. You know, what's good for you may not be good for somebody else, and vice versa. So I would encourage people to really do some homework on their, you know, what's good for them.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've done a lot, and a lot of that's in this book here,
Yes, it
right?
is. Yes.
Okay, and this
Yeah.
book, once again, can be found on your website. And
Yes, it can.
And that website is?
TrueLife-Solutions.com. It's not even up on Amazon yet. I apologize. I haven't had time to put it up on Amazon yet.
Is it
but
an ebook? Can you
It's
order it as
not.
an ebook?
No, but I'm in the process of doing that.
Okay.
So in the next couple of weeks, it should be.
And
and
how about
so-
the CD? Is it available now?
A CD, CD has been around for a while, and that you can find on the website as well,
Okay.
and and as well as the cookbook. This is still in PDF form, and we didn't actually mention this book yet.
Oh,
that's it's Love and Illusion. So.
Well, tell us about that.
Well,
That's a
actually,
fascinating subject.
yes, it is. And actually, that little book is the book that I won a national award for. In 2010, it won finalist for the best self-help relationship book in the country. But since I didn't really want to be known as the sociopathic expert, I really haven't marketed it. But for anybody who wants to sort of break the spell, anyone who's been in a kind of a challenging relationship, if you can see the cover, it is How to Recognize, Recover From, and Avoid a Destructive Relationship. And it's a very important book because so many people in relationships, and especially if they're with somebody that is a little short on the conscience area, I mean, most women end up saying, what did I do? What did I do wrong? It's important to understand that no two people walk the same path in life. It's important, I personally think, it's important to understand that you are perfect for who you are and how you're walking. Now, there may be somebody that you're in a relationship with who is walking, of course, a completely different path. It's up to you to have discernment if this person brings you joy or if this person brings you sorrow. Because I didn't coin this phrase, I didn't make this up, but there is a little phrase that says, if it doesn't bring you joy, it's just too small for you. So a lot of women and men, they stay in relationships even though, because they're not getting hit, they think it's not abusive. But emotional abuse and verbal abuse is just as damaging to the psyche. And by the way, I believe that that is directly connected to dis-ease physically. You can't, you walk around, you can't really walk around hurt emotionally for a very long time without it starting to affect your physical health.
No, you're absolutely right about that, for sure. Yeah, that whole field of relationships. I know my wife and I are very passionate about that field, and we believe we have learned the secret.
Ooh.
But what do you think about people that are in a so-called dead-end relationship? Do you think there's hope for them?
Yeah, I don't know if there's such a thing as a dead-end relationship. Who was it? It might have been Churchill. Who was it that said if you're walking in hell, just keep on walking, or something like that? I mean, what is a dead-end relationship? So it takes two to have a relationship. Obviously, if one person is living the relationship for both people, and there's really only one person in the relationship, and the other one is sort of just pretending to be in the relationship, but sort of has this other life going on over here, that ultimately probably is not going to work. I mean, it's just like that. Can it be put together, back together, whatever? It takes two people that really want to do something and make a change in order for that to happen. And very frankly, most people, and especially in today's age, they they don't want to spend the time or the effort. They'd rather just move on to something else
And repeat the cycle.
and repeat the cycle. Yes, and you know, it's funny. I talk about that a little bit because a lot of people, when they're going through something and they feel like they're falling apart, and they come to me and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm like, great, and they look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, you don't get it. If something is ready, willing, and able to be healed, it's going to come right up in your face. But how many people take the time, and it's almost like going back to school, and don't get into another relationship, take the time on themselves to figure out what that is and what's being shown to them. Because until you make that little adjustment, most people just move on. I'm not going to be sad or hurt anymore. I'm going to go out and meet somebody else. Guess what? It's going to happen again. That's why so much of this, like you said, people do the same thing and it's a pattern. But it's only a pattern because the person isn't taking the time to stop. And as far as I'm concerned, answering, spirit, to say, okay, I'm going to grow from this, find out what it is, and you find that everything is energy. And everything is vibratory rate and frequency. So you find the more that you do this work and the higher your vibration comes, water seeks its own level.
Mm-hmm.
So you find that you sort of become, I don't like to use the word above or below, but I'm going to say above the chaos. And you're a lot clearer on what is and what is not. And I think that's very important for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Well, when you're talking about relationships, in real estate, for instance, when you're investing in properties, the investors will tell you it's in the buy. So you want to make sure you buy properly, right?
Right.
And it's not in the sell. It's when you got to buy properly, and so that way, no matter what happens, you're still going to make money on it. And it's sort of that way in relationships. You want to make sure you buy properly, right? And so
I love it. You just compared a relationship to real estate. I love it. That's great. Go ahead.
Well, so many people, they jump into things, and
That's true.
especially, we're in a place here where these wedding chapels here are busy night and day. As a matter of fact, the county even has an office that's open 24 hours, right? You can go get your license anytime, day or night, and people are jumping in and out of marriages, and I think you can get divorced the same day too. So
I think so in the state.
yeah,
Right.
so this is a place where that's happening a lot, but people are jumping into it, and they're not taking the time and the effort to really analyze the situation and the
It's
person
true.
that they need to spend the rest of their life with.
Yeah, it's true. It's unfortunately been happening, for quite some time.
Yeah.
People don't take the time. My grandparents, I didn't know them, but I know that they were married all through their life. My mom and dad, they were married all through their life. And somehow our kids, regardless of how old they are, they're in a marriage, out of a marriage, have one set of kids, two set of kids, or whatever it is. There's no staying power. I think that's just sort of I don't want to say progression because it's actually going backwards. I think the family unit is very important, and I think that it's very important to instill that in our children. And I know that sounds really old-fashioned, but I have grandkids. I have stuff from my mom and her mom, family heirlooms, and my kids don't want it.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll just go to IKEA and get something, and I'm like, this was like brought over on a boat in 1919 or something, and they just don't see the value or the worth in it. And I find that really heartbreaking because what else is there?
No, you're absolutely right. I think it's an interesting commentary on the generation that
It is.
we have right now.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's. It's like, and I'm guilty of it too. But sometimes you walk into a restaurant and you see people, 2 people, 4 people, whatever. They're sitting at a table like they're having dinner together, but they're not having dinner together. All of them are doing this. They never even look up to have eye contact with the people that they're eating with. So, what I've noticed is a lot of our youngest generation, they're losing the ability to communicate. And I think it's evident in all the stuff that's going on today, but communication, it's got to stay important. I think, talking, being able to discuss things and have different views, it's important. It's the human design. We were designed to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the baselines for people that are in a relationship, any two people, especially people that are married or committed, they have to commit to 15 hours per week of undivided attention with each other. Otherwise, what's the use? It's not going to work.
And how do you do
it's
that?
Eyeball to eyeball, belly button to belly button,
Okay.
and it's not watching movies together or TV together, because that's not undivided attention. It's really talking to each other, or walking and talking, or,
It's true, and including the family.
well, you have to do that with your kids too, with each one of them.
I have a pet peeve with that. And when I go to
Exactly.
visit, my daughter and her children and stuff, I'm like, okay, so what does everybody want for dinner? And everyone's just like watching movies, or they're doing this. They don't even hear me. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, I'm not here to wait on you. This is a family unit. Come on, what would you like? And would you like to come into the kitchen and help cook
Yeah.
it? I mean, when you get to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I mean, you're old enough. If I was old enough at that age, then so were all of these kids, and so I have a kind of a pet peeve with that, the way the kids today that are in elementary school are being raised kind of almost outside the family, so they don't really have that feeling that they belong.
Connection.
Connection's a great word. You have to
Yeah.
be connected.
Absolutely. Well, you're a very positive, upbeat, happy-go-lucky kind of person. And what's the secret to happiness, do you think?
Oh, I'm so grateful. Every single day. I mean, I'm someone who's kind of been slapped around a bit by whatever, and I've been taken off the planet, and every day life becomes more precious. And every day when I wake up, I say thank you for this glorious day. Thank you for the love and respect of my friends and family. Thank you for the abundance. I mean, we got to be invited to the party today,
Yes.
and so many people didn't. So the question is, what am I going to do with today?
That's
Am I
right.
going to lay on the couch and just, watch movies? Unless it's Lord of the Rings. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But I mean, or am I going to do something to help the world, to help the earth, to help somebody, to help people? We don't really realize that even walking by somebody and a touch, or hi, how are you doing today? You have no idea what that person might be going through, and how just that little gesture could be like a ray of hope for somebody. And I think that's so important, and I think that we need more of that.
Absolutely. Are there some rituals you have, some things that you do on a daily basis to make that happen?
Well, yes. Well, I personally do my little grateful thing when I wake up. It's the first thing I do when I open my eyes, and it's the last thing I do before I close my eyes. I'm grateful for this beautiful, glorious day, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be invited to the banquet.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's it. A lot of people in some of my seminars and some of my teachings, people go, give me strength, and I'm like, no, stop. And I ask, how many people ask for strength? And they raise their hand, and I'm like, I have been afforded a glimpse of the view from the universe. Don't ask for strength, because what is it that makes you strong? I mean, they even say it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So you're asking for more of the same stuff. Don't. And people always say, well, then what do we ask for? And my answer is always the same. Stop asking. Just start saying, thank you. Just be grateful. Gratefulness carries the next to the highest frequency, love and being grateful and prayer. These are the 3 highest frequencies that we have, and the more you can stay in those frequencies, the better your life will be. I just
love that.
can't take the smile off my face, so that's just what it's about,
Yeah, no, a lot of people wake up in the morning, good God morning, You know, instead of "Good morning, God." You know,
Right?
I mean, it's so different, and it affects you. You know how your day is.
Oh, it does. It really
it's
does.
amazing.
And I invite the people who are watching this to try an experiment. You are the experiment, so try it. You know, a couple of days if you want to be grumpy and get out of bed and your feet ache or whatever it is, you know, okay. But try a couple of days getting out of bed and say, thank you. Thank you.
That's
My
right.
knees don't hurt, my feet don't ache, I'm going to stretch out, I'm going to be so grateful for today, I am so grateful today, and just see if that doesn't make a difference. I mean, all day long.
You know, there's, you know, a lot of us live our lives by little axioms that we hear, and, you know, little truisms. But, you know, one of them is if you want to have a friend, go be a friend, right?
It's
And
true.
you automatically have some friends. And those are really important. One of the things that I do that just freaks people out is when people ask me how I am, you know, how are you? And nobody really listens to that, do they? I mean, they don't care how you really are.
Kind of an automatic.
It's an automatic thing. They don't even listen, right? But so what I do is I go, best day of my life, and
Oh,
it's people just
like that.
stop, you know, and then they go, well, what happened? Why is it? I said, because it's the only day I have, you know, and
Right
they
on.
think about it for a minute and they go, oh, well, you say that every day, don't? As if that changes something.
That doesn't
I
make
say,
it
yes,
less.
yes, I do say it every day because every day is the best day of my life.
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't make it less. I like that a lot. Yeah, it is the best day of my life, and it's the one we have to work with, so
But I think it really is important to have little rituals like that, things that.
very important.
Yeah.
I do big rituals too.
Do you? Like
yeah.
what?
I have one coming up. I facilitate the solstices and the equinoxes because they are cosmic events that throughout time all doesn't matter, you know, the tribes way back when they would come out in these times and give thanks to the earth. If it's in the summer for their crops, you know, if it's in the winter solstice, they know they've made it, you know, through the winter. If it's the spring, you know, they ask and they're grateful for the planting. So every season has a reason, and I happen to live my life that way. Probably a lot of people don't. But if you find yourself just being grateful, I mean, I once, I don't know what the poem is now, but I once wrote a poem about, you know, to destroy one blade of grass really affects the whole meadow. And people don't realize that just these small things can really have a ripple effect. So be gentle in everything you do, whether you're walking on the earth, whether you're connecting with another person, you know, just do it. Be
Yeah.
a little gentler.
Yeah. Well, Sheila, we're just about out of time, and this has been really fascinating. But let me in closing, just ask you, what have you? That's just you and me. Nobody else is watching here. But what have you never told anybody before that you've always wanted to?
Well, I think I might have said it a couple times, but from what I've been shown, this is going to sound a little crazy, but I believe that we're all earth angels. I believe we're all here to touch, even just energetically, everything that's happening. I believe we're here to grow the soul. I believe we're here to heal and raise the vibratory rate. So I very seldom ever say that, but because people really look at you crazy. Like, what is wrong with you? But in my heart, I really truly believe that. So
Well, in this last minute that we have, so
since it's just you and I.
that's right. Well, what got you to believe that? Did you have a revelation of some kind?
Yes, I've had the opportunity to be on the other side. I've had the opportunity to gain an understanding that some very few people get.
This is
and
a
I'm
near-death
grateful.
experience.
Yeah, well, drowning, and then I've had actually 3 of them, and in 1999, you know, getting hit by a car, and it took me 6 years to recover. So I've had some incredible experiences, and I look at them all as blessings because each one opened me up. I mean, these books are kind of a product of things that I've learned and want to pass on and want to help. So when things come through me, I write them down.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, once again, the website is
truelife-solutions.com. I have other websites, but I think on my links, and then you'll see a bunch of other ones. So it's truelife-solutions.com.
All right. Well, Sheila, you're very fascinating. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank
This
you
is
for
great.
having me. This is
Great
really an
listening to
honor.
Enjoy the cruise. Have a great time.
Thank you. Yes.
All
Maybe
right.
you'll come with us.
And we'll see you next week, same time, same station. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.